Hello and welcome back to the Shed Geek Podcast. Here's a message from our studio sponsor. Let's be real. Running a shed business today isn't just about building great sheds. The industry is changing fast. We're all feeling the squeeze, competing for fewer buyers while expectations keep climbing. And yet, I hear from many of you that you are still juggling spreadsheets, clunky software, or disconnected systems. You're spending more time managing chaos than actually growing your business. That's why I want to talk to you about our studio sponsor, ShedPro. If you're not already using them, I really think you should check them out. ShedPro combines your 3D configurator, point of sale, RTO contracts, inventory, deliveries, and dealer tools all in one platform. They even integrate cleanly into our Shed Geek marketing solutions. From website lead to final delivery, you can quote, contract, collect payment, and schedule delivery in one clean workflow. No more double entries, no more back and forth chaos. Quoting is faster, orders are cleaner. And instead of chasing down paperwork, you're actually running your business. And if you mention Shed Geek, you'll get 25% off all setup fees. Check it out at shedpro.co/ShedGeek. Thank you, ShedPro, for being our studio sponsor, and honestly, for building something that helps the industry.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast. My goodness, by the time this thing's going out, we're looking at probably 2026. It's just so hard to believe, Dan, that it's been almost 5 years. March will be 5 years. Been doing a podcast now, and I remember we brought you on in year one. I think we brought you on again in year three. Now here we are again in year five. But this time we brought the bodyguard with us. We brought Jamie along with us. He's an actual Solar Blaster fans customer. And I'll tell you what, Jamie, if you don't care, just introduce yourself, the name of your company. Maybe tell us a little bit about what you do, sir.
Yeah, my name's Jamie Krolchek. I'm the owner of Your Shed Guy, LLC, here in Pahrump, Nevada. We provide storage for people in a couple different ways, whether it's through sheds mostly and also shipping containers. We've been in business. My dad started this company about 30 years ago. I was just thinking about that today. We renamed it about 5 or 6 years ago, took it over, bought out investors, and now I'm the sole owner of it.
So Your Shed Guy. First of all, I love the name because everybody's always like, who's the shed guy? Who's that shed guy down the road? And I think you're a little bit ahead on that by saying, especially for Google, right? Whenever somebody's like, who's the shed guy near me or something like that, sounds like you show up. So
yeah. The funny story is the company used to be called Storage Solutions, which is a great name. It's great. But I'd call and go, hey, this is Jamie from Storage Solutions. They go, who? I go, You're a Shed Guy. Oh, hi. Like literally, because the majority of our people are older, so literally I'd have that conversation once, twice a week. Hey, it's Your Shed Guy. Oh, hey, Jamie. Hey, how's it going? Like they know my name, but just the Storage Solutions thing. So I owned YourShedGuy.com before I even had Your Shed Guy LLC.
Very wise, my friend. Very wise. Yeah, very good move. And then, of course, you guys probably know Dan. Dan, but reintroduce yourself for anybody who's not had a chance to listen to any of the previous episodes, and tell the listeners kind of like what your line of business is, what you do. You're a veteran in this industry as well, too, sir.
Yes, my name is Dan Rheaume, and I started in the roofing business in 1986 and roofed in Seattle, Washington for 30 years. I looked down at one of the vents I was installing one day and had some problems associated with moisture and heat that the convective vent was supposed to solve, but in some conditions, the air wasn't moving through that vent. And I thought, I looked at the little kerf inside the vent and I said, I could put a fan in there and I could put a solar panel on that vent and we could make some air move through that and we could remove heat and moisture and we wouldn't have the problems such as warped plywood, moss growth, in Washington State, and a lot of the mold, mildew, associated problems that come from lack of air movement. And that's what we did. We went about inventing products that were compatible with sheds homes, containers that moved air through them and improved the life and monetary situation for the customers that we serve.
First of all, I wrote down problem solver because that's what came to my mind immediately as you begin to talk about this. And I'm thinking about, I don't know, my 12 years in the industry where I started working in purchasing, and that's what I did, a procurement, purchasing agent basically for this manufacturing company. And, one of the things I always enjoyed the most, Dan, was being able to explore different options, R&D. I wanted to know what was out there. Customers have a demand, but sometimes customers don't know what to demand in terms of like what they want. That doesn't get back to R&D. And some of our manufacturers, our listeners here today, are small enough. They're like, R&D, we don't have a research and development, team. Like, we are the research and development team. I'm the owner. I'm the R&D guy. I'm the sales guy. I'm the marketing guy. I'm the chief trash taker outer. We just, we're a small business. We do everything ourselves. And if you don't take the time to look at what benefits you on new products that you can bring to your customer that makes for a better end user experience, then sometimes you just don't know because you don't know. So first of all, go to solarblasterfans.com, check out some of the information that they have on the website so that you can judge for yourself. Second of all, call Dan. If I know nothing about this guy, he answers his phone, he's old school, and he handles the customer calls. He takes care of the customer. My favorite thing is I can call Dan anytime and he will always answer. He doesn't, he's not putting it off onto this robot, I mean, nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, that's old school, and I love that. And I know that that's welcome in this industry. So, Dan, let's talk about, for those who haven't listened to any previous episodes, and by the way, if you do want to know more about it, go to our newsletter, click on the digital ad on our newsletter. It'll take you right to the previous episodes that we've done with Dan. And there's even a lead form there to fill out your information if you want to contact him, if you want to know more. But tell me a little bit about what your products are. I don't know, give me your elevator pitch, Dan, so that the listeners understand what all you do.
Well, necessity is the mother of invention. And in the shed industry, specifically and especially, there are issues related to heat and moisture that customers want to solve. They just don't know how to do it. Now, moving air through a shed naturally through the convective movement of hot air rising is a great way to do it. And a lot of them will go to the gable vents and other types of venting. But really, the modern shed company, such as Jamie's, is going more to the ridge vents and the can vents on the roof that protects the shingles, protects the building structure itself. Sheds sit on the ground, so any ground moisture coming up through the shed needs to be expelled to prolong the life of the shed. And so that's what we do. We just work with the convective movement of air. We enhance it through solar power, powering a small solar-powered fan. And we also provide solar tube lighting for the shed, which is very nice. It just enhanced the value, increased the life expectancy of the shed and the components such as the roof shingles that will last longer by removing the heat and moisture that degrades them. So there's where we're at with our elevator speech.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So that then leads you to folks like Jamie as you're out here traveling around in the industry. You've been doing this for several years. Dan, you're out west. You guys are located in Phoenix, so I don't know how many shed guys are out there. To be honest with you, I haven't got a chance to get out to Arizona. I was down to Four Corners, the closest I came last year. And I thought about you, Dan, and I was like, I wish I could make the trek over there and just say hello to him, but we're just a little too far away still. But I'm going to make it a point to fly out there, get out there, see you guys. But you run across people like Jamie in this industry, who's a 30-year native. His dad's been doing this for a long time, started the business. Jamie comes up. He says, hey, how do we take this thing to the next level? Part of that, Jamie, is adding products like what Dan has here at Solar Blaster. So tell us a little bit about your experience. with the
My
product?
experience. Well, let's start off bouncing back a little bit. Dan walked up on my porch one day. The Lord blessed me with Dan. Okay, He really did. We've been friends ever since. But I was trying to get away from the whirly birds, the turbine thing. I thought those were so archaic. The gable vents. I live in the middle of the desert. You know how horrible gable vents out here. They move some air, but do you want like a silt and dust all over your stuff? No. So that's what I love about those vents that that he invented is the low profile of them, everything. I talked him into finally doing some Connex vents, and it's been a blessing ever since then too. I own them on my own still. Like I'm a customer, but I have them on my garage, my containers, my sheds, so I know they work. So that's why I kind of love Dan, doing what he's doing and blessing me with his product and other people around the country.
And the beauty really of what you do is not just sheds. I mean, you are your shed guy. You are the shed guy. But you do so much more because you do containers. And that's the
Really?
crossover in this industry that we're seeing, to be honest with you, is we say shed because it's the common denominator that kind of connects us all, but storage is really what's connecting us because you're providing that storage in a container. Many people are, jumping over into the tiny home park model.
Right.
Look, all of these things, if I know anything, there's air inside of all of these things. There's a potential for mode. I mean, like even your light, I'm not sure. I can't see because the screen's kind of small. If that's what's right behind you. I thought it was.
Right there.
Yeah, I thought it was, Jamie. I mean, there's just so many different products, but like, what's been a benefit for you carrying those lines of product? What's like been the end user, the customer's experience, Jamie, once you started adding these things to your containers and your sheds?
The big difference is just taking the heat out of these buildings. Where I live at, it's 120 degrees, 115 degrees in the summertime. With these sheds, even with like the radiant barrier OSB that I use for the roofs, it's still hot in there. And the air is just stagnant, not moving. So any air movement's a plus. Just like me and Dan were saying, do you want to melt your stuff? Well, how about moving some air, alleviating some heat from that thing? So that's been the big difference for me. People love them. I got people that have bought multiple the vents and the solar tubes just because they know they know it works and it moves air. It's kind of the same thing I did. I bought one for my garage, and then all of a sudden, oh, this thing works. So we started putting them on everywhere. So that's the benefit. I think people see the difference, especially with like the dust. Those whirly birds. I had one here before I met Dan on a model here on display, and the guy's like, "Oh, what do you think about these turbines?" And a dust devil came through my office at the time. It was the craziest thing. It was like God was speaking to me right there. It was like the perfect scenario for this guy to see it. And it's only happened one other time ever in 30 years of me doing this. But the plume of smoke came in like smoke through this whirly bird that was just spinning crazy. The dust devil caught it the angle perfect, and the dust just kicked right in there. And I was like, oh, wow. So that little testament right there alone kind of made me think about some other way to go. And I didn't know the other way to go, at the time. So when Dan kind of showed up and we, kind of showed me his product, I was like, oh, like the light bulb went off and I couldn't wait to get it.
What's been your customer experience whenever they come in and they actually see that working, or the solar light, or some of the different products? Have you noticed a difference in sheds versus containers, or like do customers notice even? Is it
They're
cooler?
impressed. Yeah, they're impressed. They're impressed by the product themselves. They don't understand how it works. Like, is there a motor in there or something? Like there's a motor. Is there a battery? They start asking all the questions. So you got to kind of explain it to them. No, and they kind of explain to them how we install it and everything else, the longevity of it, how long it lasts. I've been talking people out of solar. I mean, out of whirlybird turbines, your typical turbines forever. And then, just for that reason. And now this is a reason to actually talk people into it because it works. I've seen the results, especially on the containers. We do the heat gun on the containers, in the summertime. It's like 126, the roof on here on some of these. So, man, this will move air and take some of that heat off. There's no doubt about it. It's pretty simple.
I got a big day tomorrow. I have a fully finished 18 by 40 cabin that's going to require 2 to 3 mules to get it delivered. Way back in the sticks and down a dirt lane. With all the rain we've had lately, it's going to be a mess. Well, it needs a bigger mule.
Well, when you talk, Cardinal listens, and you asked for it. With its diesel-powered 69-horse engine and capacity to move 40,000-pound sheds, the Mule 9069 is ready to turn your big days into just another day in the good life.
Ah, that's right. You're talking about the one they had up in Michigan at the shed show. That monster mule, that thing was awesome.
That's right. It's the one you've seen at all the Shed Holler barbecues.
Man, yeah, there's nothing like a little diesel donkey to make my day go so much better.
Dan, give me some geek language here. I'm a shed geek, and I know that you are a solar geek and a fan geek and so many other things. Tell me how this benefits the customer in the end, because the one thing I see in the industry that can be difficult is if the customer doesn't demand, right, Jamie, that like they don't know that these things exist.
They don't know what they don't know what they need. Just like you were saying earlier, I wanted to get back to they don't know what they need, and your customer in the West might need something different than the other, and they don't know it. They just moved from back east where it's the little bit more humid and the dust is pluming in, like I just said. So they don't know that. So that low profile design and all that, you kind of steer them what they do need, and Dan kind of can attest to that.
Yeah, Dan, what's the geek speak on this? Whenever it really comes down to, we understand, okay, rather than have static air. I mean, every shed lot I know that I visited in at least 30 states at this point has that typical static gable vent on the end, right? And like, yes, the hot air rises, and the idea is that air releases through that gable vent. But why is it so much more beneficial? Where's the value add if a manufacturer says, hey, Dan, give me a pallet of those things. I want to try them out and install them on a line of sheds and see if it really makes that much difference? What is the expectation for that manufacturer? And like, what is the selling point for the customer in having that on the actual shed?
Well, the first value add is it just protects the shed. I use 2 examples. When folks buy a shed, they'll do a couple things. They'll throw some tools in a metal toolbox and throw it over in the corner. Those tools are going to rust because of the moisture. There's always a difference in air temperature between inside and outside, and this especially applies to containers. And we call it the beer can effect, where you set a cold beverage outside and immediately it begins to condensate on the outside of the cold can. Well, that's not air coming from inside the can. That's air coming from the outside air condensing onto the can itself. And the same thing occurs inside, and they call it container rain. They actually have a name for it. And so that is when you put the product on a container, that is eliminated because there's air movement that removes the moisture and keeps the ambient temperature equal. So the reason it has the container rain is the difference in the temperature between inside and out, and that occurs both ways. The other examples for shed folks, they'll go do a little concrete job and they'll leave a bag of concrete in the corner of the shed. Everybody's got one, and it's solid. A year down the road, it's solid. The reason is because it absorbed all that moisture and turned into concrete. Well, removing that moisture does so many things for a shed. It helps the structure, keeps from any mold growth, and this is all regional too. Jamie doesn't worry about mold growth in Pahrump, Nevada, but up in Michigan, where he's from, you do. You get the snow load on top, and then the shed heats up, and so that can cause health concerns and structural concerns. So what we do is we just take a small 50,000 hour solar powered motor. It's a 2-ball bearing high-speed industrial motor, and we match it up to a solar panel, and off it goes. 50,000 hour rated is 9 hours a day for 15 years. So, and one of the reasons Jamie's is such a fascinating example of the use of our product is because, like he says, when those winds blow in Pahrump, Nevada, and they pick up that dust and throw it at a whirlybird bearing that just destroys the whirlybird bearing, and then the whirlybird is useless, not counting the aesthetic components. Our fans, and he'll tell you, don't wear out. And when they do, they're easily replaced. And of course, our company has the no questions asked policy. If one breaks or goes bad, we just send you a new one. It's just easy that way. We don't require you to send the old one in for testing. Sometimes they just go bad, rarely. But Jamie can tell you how often that occurs in Pahrump, Nevada, and he's got hundreds, maybe, I don't know.
I'd say thousands. I didn't want to. Yeah, I've had 2 problems out of literally 1,000 of those. So that's a pretty good margin of error, I would say.
Now, Jamie, are you manufacturing sheds there, or are you
Yes.
okay?
Yep.
So you're actually doing the installation process
Yep.
as well too. What does that look like? Either one of you guys want to take that question? That's fine. I'm just kind of curious. Like, I'm trying to play the role of a listener here, and imagine I was a manufacturer somewhere in the United States, listening to this podcast, building sheds, and said, okay, so let's throw this on here. I've got everything set up in jigs. Like, we've got our process. This is going to be a big undertaking for me to be able to like throw, some of these fans in here to replace the gable vents, or should they even be used in conjunction with gable vents? You guys educate me here. I'm curious.
I think not in conjunction so much. Just depends. Like if you're in the East Coast, sure, the gable vents could probably work with that. Where I'm at, I just don't do. I talk people out of gable vents constantly. Where I'm at, I've just seen it. I've seen what it does. I've had my own shed with a gable vent before. I know. So I've trial and errored everything. The way I build my sheds, the products I use. We've been through everything. Doing this how long we've done. We know it works. And listen, I'm not getting rid of these vents ever. These work. I'm not just saying that because Dan or this or that. I'm the perfect testimonial customer because they do work. So that's the difference. People still want these whirlybird turbines, and I just won't put them on, or I try to talk them out of some other way. It's not even an upsell of trying to get this product on there per se all the time. It's just trying to do the best job for the customer. And like we said earlier, they don't really know what they need.
One of my biggest criticisms is honestly that we don't try anything new a lot of times. Like, we're a very conservative podcast. We talk to a very conservative group or listener base, if you will. And the one thing, and I always like to take shots at our own conservatism. And the way I do that is I'm not saying someone's doing something wrong. I'm saying we're slow to change. We're slow to add new things. We're like, we like things the way they were. It's literally in our term, conserving the way things are. Change is the enemy. But like customers, a lot of times are seeing the benefit from this. And if we're not doing the research and development, if we're not exploring, if we're not creating, to use Dan's word early on, whenever he saw this in Seattle, Dan, even you, Jamie, while you were here talking about it being regional, I live in Southern Illinois. We were joking around earlier about how you guys had this beautiful weather, and I'm so jealous right now where you guys are. I've got 35 degrees and it feels like 27, but guess what? It still hits 106 with massive humidity here in the summertime. And I know it does within 5-10 hours of us, and we're right in the middle of the USA. So all that humidity is coming in, all that moisture is coming in. I mean, look, we're trying to keep a loaf of fresh bread here. And the only way to do that is to keep that bad air out. Right, Dan?
Right. Well, what we're talking about when we talk about conserving is that what I always call the least path of resistance. The river will follow as it runs downhill the least path of resistance to the ocean. And with the same with the product, air rises, hot air rises. And so we're just working with that. Gable vents are wind-driven vents, period. They are not convective vents. So convective vents require an intake and an exhaust. So what you really want to do is you want to put a low end vent on your container shed, and you want that to suck the cool air in and then exhaust out high on the roof. So you can do that with a variety of ways. The metal roofs are going with the ridge vents, and we've got two great products for the metal roofs. And our customers love those two products. For the composition roofs, we're using the canned vent, I guess is the slang, or a lot of folks call them the turtle vents. And they're easily, is when I go to see Jamie over there, we've been working together for over 10 years now, and he's always got the same crew of guys. So he's real good to his folks. They stick around. He takes care of them. And when they're building his sheds and then going out installing the container vents, they follow such great workmanship. But the key is to create low-end intake, high-end exhaust, let nature do its work with hot air rising, and then just assist that when the sun comes out. And the thing is, like when you swirl a bathtub or a hot tub, I use as an example, the water tends to stay in motion. Once you've boosted air all day long, it tends to stay in motion well into the evening and pull in what I call the clothesline fresh air, because everything in the shed then, like Jamie was talking about, from stagnant becomes clothesline fresh, moisture free, hot air free. So that's what we're looking for, is not to reinvent the wheel, but just kind of work with it as it rolls.
Gosh, I'll tell you what, I remember the first episode that we did, Dan, and you really went, man, you went heavy. We asked you some heavy questions, and I was so impressed at the amount of knowledge. Like what a lot of people in the shed industry, very close knit group of individuals in the shed industry. And you guys find yourself kind of out there, a little bit further out west than some of the meccas of what you see in Lancaster or North and South Carolina or Kentucky, where there's just a lot of manufacturing for sheds. But you guys have been out there, Jamie, your own testimony, 30 years doing this. Dan, a lot of people don't know, you've been selling these solar blaster fans for how long to people in the shed industry?
15 years.
15 years.
Yes, sir.
You've made your way around to actually quite a few shed manufacturers just hopping in your truck, going around saying hello.
Across the country, a couple times. And it's great, from here in Phoenix. And we were talking about earlier about Ted's Sheds up there in Colorado, where we walked in the door to offer him our products, and there was our products already sitting on his showroom floor. So yeah, we love visiting. Everywhere there is a shed company, we'll pop in and hand them a card and talk to them, and it's become a source of joy, I guess, because we enjoy it so much. We're doing, as someone famous we talked about earlier today says, doing what I was born to do. And the reason I was placed here on this earth is to do this. And I'm so thankful for that gift that I want to go out. It's so simple. It's just like we said, it's just hot air rising. So it's the future of the shed industry will lean toward the solar powered vent, and done correctly with cool air intake and hot air exhaust.
Digital Shed Builder is an online shed configurator that strives to provide incredible visual quality, fantastic customer service, and an amazingly low price point, making it a perfect fit for any shed dealer looking to increase their online sales. Digital Shed Builder is simple to use, taking less than 5 minutes to integrate on your site. The Get a Quote feature streamlines your sales process, showing you exactly what your potential customers need. They offer a highly customizable experience that accurately represents your brand and unique shed offerings, working with you directly to set up everything you need in a configurator. With no extra startup cost, no lengthy contracts or commitments, and no hidden fees, Digital Shed Builder has been created with quality, simplicity, and affordability in mind.
I feel like you're seeing that even with some of the solar power packages. You know, we've had some friends that jumped into that, and I really feel like they were even ahead of their time on that. That it's taken a little bit, especially for off grid, and I don't want to say off grid living, but I mean just even off grid solar packages in terms of electrical packages for even I don't know. Maybe this is the spoiled deer hunter. But even when they get out into their deer stands, you know, and they want some heat, and they've got these solar packages available while they're out and about. Any person who has a tool shed out back, you know, I mean, you usually want some electricity. So I've just been a big proponent of solar. I've become very open minded to the idea of like getting away from my conservative roots and you know and said, oh, solar, why do we need all that? We've got fuel, we've got gas. And I'm like, man, you don't need what was we talking about, a shop, a buddy of yours that had a shop that they're running a generator, you know, on this shop, and they're having to heat it or run the electric to it through the diesel power every day, $300-400 a day to probably run something, you know, like that. Solar is replacing look, these solar panels are coming up about 25 miles east of where I am right now in 200, 300 acre fields of them. I mean, it's becoming so much more common that I feel like you're almost ahead of the game if you've been doing this for 15 years already.
Well, there's two components here that you're speaking of. You got the power generation component, and that, of course, is bad mouthed in many ways, and probably by the oil industry. I don't know how the propaganda all works, but I do know that when the Model T came out, everybody was still hooked on their horses. And especially, so the other component is that small uses for solar panels are really the way to go. Your small uses, like stop signs where there's safety issues concerned, where they're running a blinking light, or outdoor uses where you have a spotlight somewhere where you don't have electricity and you put up a little panel and a light. You know, in our case, hooking it directly to a fan that you don't have any outside external power required. The other thing is people fear hail with the panels, and there have been some instances where hail has broken large panels, but we have had zero panel failure with hail, zero. And we've been through some golf ball and larger sized hail. So we know we've been hit, but we have had no failure. So there's been zero, not even one warranty call as far as hail is concerned. You know, in Jamie's case there in Pahrump, Nevada, I mean, he just saw the vision, saw what the future was, and started applying it, and his customers, you know, like it. So I know it's going to happen, and I really want to help folks make that happen for them in the shed industry.
Tell me a little bit more, Jamie, about like your experience. How long have you been carrying these lines and the containers, you know, fans and lights and all that?
I've been doing the containers for about 10 years now, right when I met
Wow.
Dan. It all kind of happened when the housing crunch hit, and kind of prices went down. People weren't buying sheds so much. And then after, you know, that's kind of when we got together. And that's when I first started getting containers. The price of wood after that went crazy, you know, during the unfortunate Biden administration. And so people went to containers. You know, when sheds were double, triple the price, people started going to containers. That was a cheaper alternative. So, you know, the transition from that and back and forth, now we're kind of selling more sheds again. But with it just kind of goes hand in hand with any moving of any air. You have to have these. I'm not just saying that to be like that, but I'm driving home that point. As soon as I met Dan, I haven't used a whirlybird since. That's not a coincidence. It ain't because I love him that much. It's because of the product. You know what I mean? So with the intakes and everything like that, it just makes sense. I have solar power on my office. Solar runs my office. So I'm all for it, especially like these people are like, where do you plug it in at? I'm like, you don't have to plug it in. Like people ask me, how do you plug the vent in? You don't. It doesn't need electricity. No, it doesn't need anything. So
Speak
they're happy.
speak
Yeah.
speak to the manufacturers that are listening here, or speak to the dealers who have influence with their manufacturing. I haven't been out there to Nevada to kind of like see the how the shed industry works, Jamie, but I'm going to come see you, dude. We're going to come out
I have a
there.
perfect, yeah, I have a perfect word I use to people sometimes. Hey, do you like, oh, do you want to have a vent on there? No, maybe not today. I said, do you want to incubate your stuff? And that's like the perfect term for it where I'm at. It's not the same. You can't say that in Southern Illinois or Michigan or maybe parts of Utah, but do you want to incubate your stuff? Do you want to just melt it? Do you care about your stuff in there? Oh, you do? Okay. This little vent that you're spending $5,000-6,000 on a shed for, this cheaper, cost that can preserve your things. Let's talk about preservation of things. Do you like your stuff? You do? Cool. Let's preserve it a little bit. Let's not melt the records. You know what I mean? So it speaks for itself. It sells itself to me out here.
Isn't that the whole value proposition, honestly, to the shed manufacturers and the dealers who are listening, who are like, hey, I mean, I'm trying to think, from a manufacturer perspective, why you don't want to put these on initially, sell them, you bake that into the cost. And I mean, honestly,
Right.
it's a small cost in comparison to the grand,
It is.
picture of this, but the value proposition outweighs the cost, to put this unit on here because of the value it brings on preserving your stuff. As a manufacturer yourself, is the installation difficult? Is it, like what's been your I'm trying to think of questions they would ask if they were on
Right.
here, because
The
you're a
installation is
manufacturer.
so, yeah. I've had a guy, because I install them on everything, but I have a guy that comes and just buys some from me and he installs them himself. And I asked him that same question. How easy? He's like, oh, it takes me 10 minutes. One guy's, oh, it takes me 5 minutes. I pay my guys a pretty good wage to put them on. They jump for joy when I can have, hey, go put a couple of these vents on somewhere because it's that easy. It takes longer to drive out to these places than it does to install two vents. So, that's another thing. It comes with a little diagram. It has a little grid you can cut right around the hole. It's so easy. Dan makes it, worry-free, easy. Like what's that 101 dummies could do it, like the book for dummies, installing these. Literally, it's so simple.
That's what we need. We need a solar blaster for dummies.
Yeah, that's
Dan,
that's right.
Dan, he brings up a very valid point. We think about the manufacturer all the time, but there's a lot of do-it-yourself homeowners. Like if I'm putting something on my shed, I usually just take care of it myself. Especially since I already have the shed now. It's not like I can get it manufactured with a solar blaster fan on it, but I can put one on now. For dealers who are even listening today, I mean, you can drop ship, a pallet to those guys, and they can upsell these things, to customers who come in, because you can say, hey, even though this isn't installed on your shed today, this is a pretty simple installation for you as well.
Well, Jamie and I started there in Pahrump, Nevada. They have you got to go over the hill to get to Vegas, and they call it a hump. There's a magazine in Pahrump called Over the Hump, and it's everybody gets it. And so Jamie and I are starting some advertising with co-opting the advertising, so to let the shed guys know we're interested in stuff like that. We want to do stuff like that to get out, and we're going to start some advertising together. And he should hopefully gain some business with those type of folks, do-it-yourselves folks, where he can have the wholesale price in buying the product and then retail it at a fair price. They're in Pahrump where they can install it themselves.
Very cool. Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. I'm going to stop right there and say, don't forget to go solarblasterfans.com. That's where you're looking for this information at today. Solarblasterfans.com. Talk to me. I didn't ask you these questions, Dan. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you have pricing on the website? It's been a little bit since I've been on there. So like, hey, if people are curious about what that looks like, what's the cost of a Solar Blaster fan? I mean, what are we looking at?
You're somewhere in between 149 to $249. Our high-end models, we have two models of fans. We have a 80 millimeter and a 120 millimeter fan, a 39 CFM fan. And when I say 39 CFM, what I like folks to do and what Jamie does with his customers, and I'd sure like to hear from Jamie about what difference it makes when he's out there competing. If by offering the product, is he winning jobs with his competitors there in Pahrump, Nevada by offering that? But what I'd like to share with folks is how to do the math on the CFM, or the cubic feet on the interior of a shed. And your length time width time height will give you your cubic feet on your shed, and you divide that by the fan CFM, which is either 39 or our large fan at 96. And what you'll see in most cases on an average 10-foot shed is that they're replenishing the air inside several times per hour. And so when people say, well, what that little fan, what's that do? Well, I like to show them the replenishment factor inside the shed. Then they're like, whoa, 6 times an hour, I'm getting clean, clothesline, fresh air pumped through my shed. And it makes a difference to the folks. But as far as I'd really like to hear from Jamie about if it creates an advantage for him over his competitors.
And I use that same terminology too, the 39 cubic feet a minute. And I tell people, like when we're in a model or something I have over here, and I go, oh, you feel that air? Yeah, every hour. I say the word hour. I don't want to go by minutes or, but it's pretty easy. I go, you get fresh air in here every hour. They're like, oh, that like it raises eyebrows. People are impressed by that. So even if my product is a little bit, say, more expensive or maybe the same price as someone around the corner, you know what I mean? That just kind of the products we have, the little items like that kind of might change or sway someone. Like, oh, they're, so that's kind of what's the benefit of having the product. They can see it on a model. They, we have one here, we have on the porch. You can put your hand up to it and you can feel the air sucking. Like, you can feel the hand. So people are like, oh, like, so just that little stuff I think matters. It's a great sales point, sales pitch, or like you could say.
Well, Dan, you kind of took the question right out of my mouth for Jamie, and I wrote this down here. Does it help you sell? I mean, that's the basic question that the premise that I think a lot of people want to get to. Does having the solar blaster fans on your products, does it help you sell to customers?
I'm going to take it from Dan in case he wanted to answer. The answer is definitely yes. It's not going to hurt anything. You know what I mean? I go on a value scale. We all start at 0. Okay. There's negative and there's positive. There's nothing but positive with these vents. If you got the intakes right, even if you're in the East Coast, like Michigan, like Dan said, where I'm from, there's moisture in everything. I went in my dad's shed this week and it's like humid in there. It's humid. And he's got tools in there. He's got a rusted golf club set. Why should that be rusting in a shed? Well, I think Dan answered that question earlier. Moisture in the air, stagnant, you know what I mean? So the concrete bag theory, you know what I mean? So no matter where you're at, these are positive. They're only going to help you, sell something or help you promote your product better. It makes your product look better. It's like this. I'll put it like this. I just thought this. I have a Porsche. I sell the Porsche. Well, there's a little fin I can put on it. Makes it look nicer. This is the fin. This is the little like attributes that could sell it for me. You know what I mean?
Well, you said something earlier, Jamie. It's sort of a no-brainer. I remember getting into storage, sales in general, and one of my good friends mentioned to me at the time, said, don't these things kind of sell themselves? Well, to some extent, but there's a certain level of like confidence and information that you have to be able to transfer about what these things actually do. But I mean, what is the purpose of purchasing a storage shed or a container in general anyway? It's to store your things. So like, why don't you want to take care of those things? The best way to take care of those things is to keep the air purified. And, I think Dan is the one who told me this the first time that we did an interview near 4 years ago now, Dan, as you were like, air is the best purifier that exists anyway. And that has stuck with me now for so many years now. That like, it doesn't matter what chemicals you use, this, that, and another. There's nothing better than opening up the windows on a nice breezy day and airing out the house. We've done this since I was a child. We do it still today. It sells itself, Jamie, to your point. There's no reason not to have it. And for the cost versus the value proposition, I feel like I'm pushing really hard to get the manufacturers to understand that. That's why I really wanted to have a manufacturer on here who understood the product and who could talk about it at a high level. But even you dealers who are out here listening today, go to solarblasterfans.com, get that number, reach out to us, go to our newsletter. Like, I will get you in contact with Dan. I'll do all I can. Hey, wink, wink. I'll even do all I can to save you a little bit of money. I don't know. I'll do my best work. We'll see if Dan will let me. But the idea is it's such a high value proposition for such a low additional cost, Jamie. To add onto your line of sheds, and even if you're selling, whether you're selling it in the installation and the prefab rollout of the shed, or if you're a shed dealer who's like, you know what? I know that you guys just bought this and we didn't actually install this, but I've got this product here called Solar Blaster Fans. Check it out. Go watch a YouTube video on it, right? Understand how it works. You get a fairly good do-it-yourselfer. Like you said, 10 or 15-minute installation. Now you've increased the value of the shed as it's sitting there, but more than anything, you've protected your belongings.
Running a business means balancing constant daily demands with the pressure to keep growing. The workload, the decisions, responsibility, it never stops. Newfound Solutions is here to take some of that off your plate, giving you the tools and support to move forward with confidence. Have you always wanted to start your own rent-to-own company but don't quite know where to start? RTO Partners is here to help. Overwhelmed by all the moving pieces in running your own rent-to-own program? RTO Smart is a software that encompasses everything you need on one platform. Or leave the rent-to-own up to us and focus on what's more important to you. Newfound Rentals has you covered with traditional rent-to-own options for your customers. Shed Connect understands the complexity of the digital marketplace. We take the hassle out of online sales. Newfound Solutions, 4 powerful sub-brands, helping you succeed across every aspect of your business. Visit newfoundsolutions.com today and let us do the balancing so you don't have to.
You made me think of something. Like Dan said, we live here in Pahrump. We have a lot of off-road vehicles, guys with side-by-sides, ATVs, little dune buggies. The first question I ask people is, you're going to store something with gas in there? You got flammable stuff? You don't want to move air? Hopefully you don't smoke either. If you smoke cigarettes, it could be a problem. You know what I mean? So that's another thing across the country. It doesn't matter where you're at. If you have anything flammable, chemicals, chlorine, pool stuff in there, get that air out of there. Get those chemicals, get the fresh air in there so you're not breathing that stuff in.
I'll tell you what, you're exactly right. I've got chemicals. I've got pool chemicals in my own. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, I have a Solar Blaster fan here at my office, and we have it here to show people whenever they come here, do podcasts or whatever. It's an opportunity for me to brag on those who, develop these products, manufacture these products, put them out in the industry, have been doing it for years. Dan, I'm going to have to get one. I'm going to have to buy one from you to actually put on my shed because I haven't done that yet. Like, I've got it here and I can't wait to carry it with me whenever I go around the country to all these different states and visit these manufacturers and show them a little bit more about it and so that they can understand how it works. But yeah, I mean, I've got Jamie, you're exactly right. Got pool chemicals in there. I've got gas cans in there. I mean, I walk in there and it's just a plume of like smells immediately because of exactly what you're talking about.
No, Shannon, you're right. Air is God's natural cleanser. Anything with a smell or an odor that you want to clean, just hang it outside a few days and it'll be clean. But Jamie has a database of customers that have purchased from him. And he can go back through that database now and send out a mailer, a flyer, and say, hey, we're offering this product. And who is your best customer, really? Generally speaking, it's a previous customer that can tell how good you've treated them. And so that's a real opportunity for shed companies to go dig into their database, send out a flyer and say, hey, we'll come install this for you, or we'll sell it and show you how to install it yourself.
Man, I just can't say enough good things, Dan. I've known you for 4 years. It's been an absolute pleasure. I get a chance to talk to you pretty regularly. I mean, half the time, me and you get on the phone, we'll just talk about our faith, we'll just talk about Jesus. And then sometimes we talk about business or fans or sheds or things like that. But what I've enjoyed probably more than anything is just the nature of who you are. Can't wait for you to travel out this way, me to travel your way. We've talked about crossing each other's paths. Jamie, I really love what you're doing there, man. I want to know more about what you do. 30 years in this industry. What an amazing feat, man. Tell me, give the audience, we still got a few minutes here. We're maybe 45 minutes in, but, give me a little bit of thoughts on just overall what your experience has been with sheds, containers, and things like that in your experience.
Right. Like I said, we trial and erred. We used to build our sheds after the probably number one most famous shed company. I won't mention their name, but my dad used to like kind of mold and model our sheds after theirs because they're from a Vegas company. Like that's where we started. So why not try to emulate the best shed company in the world? But we've modified ours since then, pressure treated floor, 4x4s. Like I spoke about earlier, the radiant barrier OSB. A lot of people don't have to use that other places, but it does to keep the temperature out. The winds are crazy out here. We use 3-dimensional shingles on everything. I don't 3-tab shingle anything. So everything I do is either tile roofs or 3-dimensional shingles. So we've kind of, I have a warranty with my sheds for up to 5 years. So I don't want anything to go wrong with my sheds or I got to come pay to fix them. So I build them the best I can. So when I say I've trial and errored everything, we have the 6-inch heavy duty hinges on the door, the barn doors, 3 of them. We reinforce and back the doors with OSB. So, I used to do pull-ups when I was a little younger and skinnier. I used to do pull-ups on the doors in front of customers. Like, oh, like they're like, is your door going to sag or how's this door going to last? I'm like, let me show you. And I'll do a pull-up or two, on the door. They're like, holy cow. So, and speaking to that is as we get a little older, we like to do things a little easier. So, we don't have the jigs anymore like we used to. We have it all figured out. We have the dimensions, the sizes we need. Like Dan said, I had the same crew I've had for years, and people love them. So that's why I still have them, because I tell people we're not just practicing, we got it down. Okay. Not like one of these other companies, oh, I got a new crew, I'm gonna send them out and have them build your shed or whatever. So I tell people we're not just practicing. And in saying that is, we've been moving towards containers. And like I was speaking to earlier, the heat's crazy out here. So I have a container. I put a solar vent and fan on my container. So like I said, I can attest to that. So we've kind of moved in other directions in the time. People used to ask me, do you do containers? And I never did. I'd always say, no, we don't do containers. I was a metal hater, because I was a wood guy. So finally, I had a company call me and go, hey, do you guys want to buy some shipping containers? Well, how much are they? So I got in the container business. I was sick of people asking me, do I sell containers? Yes, I do. I sell both. What do you want? So it's kind of, that's why I'm in business, I think, still, because we kind of traverse through the hard times. We've made it through the hard. If I made it through those, I can make it through anything now, Lord willing. So we're here that long for a reason, because we build a good product and we're good for this. You know what I mean? So that speaks for itself.
Man.
There's been 10 shed companies gone out of business in my town. I'm still here.
There you go. Good for you, man. Good for you. I'll tell you
Thanks.
what, I can't wait to get out that way. When I do, I'm going to come see both of you. I think it's just awesome. We'd love to do a flyover with the drone or something and just show some of the different things that you guys do. Look, we always tell people, here's one of the benefits of coming on the podcast is like, we put this out in a lot of different places. So it creates some really good backlinks and SEO value for you guys on your websites. We'll make sure to link that. You guys can take any of the content from the show today and promote it yourself, put any of the clips into social media, into reels, into, shorts, use it on your website if you feel so compelled to. I love the conversation. We're sitting here creating content today, talking about cool and fun things, especially cool and fun partners like my buddy Dan over here at solarblasterfans.com. You guys be sure to check it out. Do me a big favor. If you guys listen to the podcast, you guys give Dan a call. Tell him the Shed Geek sent you. A lot of times there's just no way to know. You guys listen to the show, you listen to, and you give somebody a call, or you go fill the lead form out on our newsletter. Let Dan know, hey, heard about you on Shed Geek. Give me some of that wink wink special pricing that Shannon's talking about over there, Dan. I'm putting you on the chopping block here. Well, I done rolled over you with the bus and I backed up again. But I just know your heart, man. I've known you for 4 years, and we talk, and you're like, you're such a take care of the customer guy that I really appreciate that. And it's pretty evident here with having Jamie, your shed guy here today, yourshedguy.com, here, speaking highly on your product after 10 years of service. So kudos to you, Dan. Jamie, I'm so happy to have you on the show here today, because you are a manufacturer who uses the product. People can call you, they can ask your opinion. You don't have to worry about Dan being this super slick snake oil sales guy. You know what I mean? They can call Jamie and say, what's your experience been like with this product? And I just can't, I judge a lot about the person's, company by the person running it. And if I know anything about Dan, it's been superb. I have really thoroughly enjoyed being a partner with him. And you know what, Dan, we're talking about a whole lot more for the future, possibly.
Dan is the most sincere, genuine guy I know. He's got a good heart. He does put customer first. You're not BSing when you do say that. There's no doubt about it. I can attest to that myself. Like I said, I had one or two maybe little things go wrong right away, gone, sent it out. We took care of it. So he is a customer first guy. That's why I kind of appreciate his friendship too.
That's awesome. Dan, anything else you want to share before we get out of here today?
No, thank you guys. And thanks for all the shed companies doing business with us. We appreciate each and every one of you. We live to serve you and your needs as they are, with whatever they might be. And very thankful for friendships built in this industry, Jamie and Shannon and many others. We're very excited about the future. It is bright, and thank you.
I'll tell you what, one thing I know about Dan, and what I feel like I picked up on just talking with you, Jamie, is that you're men of faith. We are too here at the podcast, and we really love, that this industry is a very faith-filled, faith-forward industry, that we're not ashamed to talk about the love of Jesus Christ and all that he did for us. So, you know what? It's probably been a little bit before we had a chance to say a prayer. If you guys don't care, I'll say a prayer. We'll end the podcast after that. And then if you guys will stay on for about a minute or two after that, I'll let you off the hook. And then we'll get out of here so we can all get back to work. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to not just be doing business, but to be doing business with those who are like-minded, those who share our values, those who share a vision for this world, that is to proclaim the name of Jesus Christ, because he came to save us even whenever we were still sinners, Lord. And we thank you that you would send your son to take our place when we deserve probably not all the good things that happen to us every day. And because he took those stripes, we just say thank you for that, because we are imperfect, but we're trying to just proclaim your name in an imperfect world and lead people to you, and let our business be about that as we go about our days. Just help us to decrease so that you can increase in our conversations, so that you can increase in our business, in our giving, in our tithing, in our taking care of one another. Help us where we fall short. Be a light to our path where we fail. Thank you for always giving us the opportunity. May you continue to open doors for Dan, for Jamie. May you continue to open doors for this industry to grow, and to do that with you in mind in everyday interactions and business. Just thank you so much. We're humbled by your presence. We're humbled by the opportunities that you continue to give us. Lord, we thank you more than anything today. We thank you for your son. And in Jesus' name, amen.
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 Thanks again, Shed Pro, for being the Shed Geeks studio sponsor. If you need any more information about Shed Pro or about Shed Geek, just reach out. You can reach us by email at info@shedgeek.com or just go to our website, www.shedgeek.com, and submit a form with your information, and we'll be in contact right away. Thank you again for listening, as always, to today's episode of the Shed Geek Podcast. Thank you and have a blessed day.